kings.
Oh.
No.
And probably the 10, the worst card in the deck for Sammy.
That was the hard draw.
Do wonder if he was preparing to bluff the river.
Quite possibly. I wonder. He did something there that was sort of similar to what he did in the 8-5 hand, where he called on the flop, and in the 8-5 hand he called again on the turn, and then bet the river when it became clear that was the only way he was going to win. He did a similar thing here, where he check-called with a flush draw on the flop, and then bet the turn because he didn't want to have to either check-call or check-fold. And I wonder if he's going to be doing that with strong hands to balance that out, or if that's a betting pattern that Tom is going to be able to pick up on and pick off some bluffs in those spots.
And that's really the killer in heads up. Any tendency that you repeat?
Yeah. That you repeat and that you don't balance. Because if he does that also with, ace-10 from time to time, it becomes very difficult for Tom to play against that on the turn. But if it's always a flush draw.
Sort of have to have this inner clock in your head about how often you do certain things.
Absolutely.
Very tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Durrrr, who's flop top pair.
5,000.
And he's pretty confident he's ahead here.
Yeah, I would think so. He's bound to be a little worried, if anything, that he might be behind trip threes. It'd be pretty plausible for Sammy to have flopped trip threes and checked back. Though there was also a hand earlier in the match where Sammy had flopped top pair with king-queen on a king 3-2 board or something like that, and checked it back. So Sammy is capable of checking back with a strong top pair or something that would be ahead on that turn.
3,000.
Raise up to 3,000. Raise up to 12,000.
And Sammy now with the re-raise.
Look at my cards, it's like that. Oh, you didn't look.
Hello.
I call.
Call.
I don't think we've seen Durrrr fold to the 3-bet yet.
No, I don't suppose we have.
Like in Omaha, players never do, but in Hold'em they do sometimes. This might
Definitely.
be one of the kind of hands you wouldn't be like thrilled about calling with, or
At least it's suited. Suited and it's got one big card. It's got some things going for it.
what now?
26,000.
Flush draw.
Probably just call. You don't want to raise and let Sammy re-raise you, and then you can't call it off for your 250 big blind stack, but you're folding a hand with a lot of value.
And the idea being that you call here, not just because of the odds of the pop, but because of how much you're going to get if you hit the flush sort of thing, how deep he is.
Absolutely, and at the same time, he also might get to win the pot without improving. Say Sammy has something like ace-king here, and the turn comes an 8 or a 7 or whatever, and then he check folds.
This pot now big, and if it doesn't come the club, it hasn't. Is Tom now have to be prepared to give this up?
Well, he's picked up a pair as well, so he has a lot of equity, even against an overpair here. And with a hand like ace-king or ace-queen picking up a gut shot on that card, you can expect Sammy to be semi-bluffing fairly often, so Tom can't even be completely certain that he doesn't have the best hand here if Sammy bets.
Sammy checked it.
Interesting. I wonder if Tom will bet or not. If he does bet, he has to be prepared to call a shove, so...
I wonder why Sammy did check. Oy, oy, oy.
I can only assume Sammy was going for the check raise there. The stacked to pot ratio is such that that would work out well. Tom bets 50 and Sammy moves in for 220 or whatever it is. I don't hate his turn check at all.
Feels like a pretty scary bet because that 9 of clubs on the river, I mean, Tom could easily have played a 9 like this as well.
Possibly. I think he bets it on the turn a lot of the time. I think Sammy thinks he bets it on the turn a lot of the time. Or he'd be a little more reluctant to bet on that card. And I have to imagine Tom's going to move in here. Or at least make a big raise.
Wow, Sammy gets the ace-king against the aces, and now the kings against a flush.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
All in.
And that's pretty much the story. The big sigh. I mean, it's painful.
This is a tough spot. This is a very tough spot. Tom could be doing this as a bluff with something like pocket sevens or eights, something like ace high. A definite consideration here is Tom has something like ace queen with the ace of clubs, so he knows that Sammy can't have the nuts and moves in on a bluff. There's no street where I'd be confident Tom would do anything other than what he has with a hand like ace queen with the ace of clubs.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you can say to yourself, if you're Durrrr, that Sammy probably doesn't have 3 9s because of the 3-bet and that sort of thing. I mean, it's not a bad spot to try and bluff, is it?
No, it's really not. Sammy very often has something exactly like what he has. Even if he has 3 9s, he's got to think about folding it. Tom's representing a flush here.
Right now, he's wishing he didn't bet, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot more comfortable to just check and call one pot-sized bet here than it is to face the shove. And so soon after he lost that other huge pot, that the amount of money involved, it's bound to be getting to him here. Getting stacked 2 hands nearly back-to-back is not much fun.
Wonder what it's going to come down to.
And then at the same time, he might be thinking, Tom is thinking he doesn't want to get stacked twice in a row.
It's a good pass.
Yeah, that's a good laydown.
And Durrrr does not show it that time. He'll keep Sammy thinking because that's going to keep him uneasy.
Yeah, he can tell Sammy's a little uncomfortable right now. Last thing he wants to do is to make him feel good.
I'll tell you after. Is that fair?
Could you BB me it?
I'll tell you after? Like after the...
I didn't know you could tell me it Nova. You can tell me over there, otherwise that's not going to go down.
Alright, fair enough.
Blind chance.
Was it a good fold? That's all I need to know.
I'll tell you at dinner.
Multi-millionaire Tom Dwan is one of the world's most respected high-stakes players. The launch of the $1 Million Challenge puts his money and his reputation on the line.
At the start of 2009, I was worried there wouldn't be quite enough games online. It seemed like games were starting to die down a little bit. So I came up with the bet that I've offered people, which is I put up $1.5 million to their 500K, and we play 50,000 hands of their choice, either Nolan Hold'em or PLO, at 200, 400 or higher. And at the end, if they're up $1, they win 1.5 million, and if I'm up $1, they owe me 500,000. We came out with the live heads-up series. So far, I've had 3 takers that I'm playing in London, and then we'll probably be doing one in the US soon and somewhere in Asia after that. There's not live heads-up matches too often, and I think they're more interesting to watch a heads-up match than a ring game. A ring game, too often you're going to have people waiting for good hands or good hand versus good hand. A heads-up match, you're going to have people trying to steal every pot and, you know, an opponent trying to think, ooh, does he finally have a hand this time, or is he trying to steal every pot again? And I think it'll make for more interesting TV and a better show.
There is no amount so great that it can't be lost in a night. A forest can easily become a toothpick. And when Tom Dwan pushes, you have to push back. Join us the next time the Full Tilt Poker Durrrr $1 Million Challenge continues.
Next time, when this heads-up clash continues, Sammy Any Two strives to beat the formidable Tom Dwan, but can he pull it back and please the home crowd? There is plenty more action to come.
I don't play this hand even when I feel it.
Is that good enough?
I think it'd be an awesome, awesome game.
Sometimes I forget there's people watching.